our second group panel of OPO.design. And again, we have Adriano Esteves joining us. You already know him quite well. We have Sofia Peres, Head of Service Design and Innovation. And we have Tiago Pedras, founder of the new digital school. Okay, so I'll just get to it. Show of hands, and I just want to see what kind of crowd we have here. How many people here started working as designers in the last 3 years? Raise your hands, please. Way up, don't be shy. Okay, all right, and how about in the last 5 years? Okay, more than 10 years. Some people didn't raise their hands. What's happening there? Yeah, okay, that's a good point. Between 5 and 10. Okay, that's about it. Good catch. Okay, so I'll just ask our invitees to introduce themselves. So, what do you do and why?
Okay. Hi.
Hello?
Is it working? No.
The mic is not working.
Let's check. Yeah?
No?
I don't know. 1, 2, 3.
Tá?
Is okay? Okay. Perfect. Okay, we can start maybe.
Let me just... There we are.
Okay. So hi, first of all, thank you for the invitation. I'm very glad to be here. Well, I'm Sofia Peres. I'm service designer. If you don't know what is service design, it's like the name. I design services. And yeah, I work in Porto Digital, that is owned by the municipality of Porto, the metro and the university. And well, my daily life is working with the public sector and redesign public services for the municipality of Porto. And why I'm doing this? Yeah, it's a quite hard question. I look at my work, I always looked at my work as a mission, as something that I really need and really want to do. And working for public sector is a challenge every day. But I really love what I do, and this is why I want to work in designing services to really create new experience and design meaningful value for people. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
I'm the founder and creative director of Bürocratik, an agency with 15 years, and we do design, digital.
Why?
Why? Because I chose. That's the best way, and that's a.
Love to do.
Yeah, it could go wrong, but I chose it, so I was the guilty one. So okay. I'm doing design because I chose it.
So you're to blame.
I'm the one to blame. Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Then, yeah.
My name is Tiago Pedras. I'm sort of a designer, I think. I don't know. I've done a bunch of things in the past 15 more years. I started pretty much like Adriano. I founded my own studio, done a bunch of things, and then eventually I thought, hey, I should create a design school. And eventually I did. I was also a teacher for 10 years, and I thought the system was doing it wrong, and as any designer, creator, engineer, when you see something wrong, you try to fix it. So cost me a few years of my life, a lot of hair.
Tell me about it.
Yeah. I had a lot. It was this long, like no, it was. And now I went back to the industry, giving it a small break for the school for that project, and I'm now a product manager and UX designer at a really nice company incubated at UP Tech. And why? Because, I don't know, I'm probably crazy, but I think it's for the love of making, for the love of growing. And every time you solve a problem, you're learning something, you're growing. And it's not an ego thing. I think it's just, progress, life progress, a long life plan of becoming better.
All right, thank you. And I want all of you to answer this because you have, different backgrounds, different stories. What's one tool that you use that you couldn't live without? And please don't say a computer, because, of course, but you can start.
I would say lists. I've learned the value of making lists, and there's people that now love to make fun of me because of my lists.
There's a list of people who make fun of you
Because
of that.
it's a mental list, but I could definitely turn it into a list. So I have a lot of playlists on Spotify. You can look it up. They're tagged, labeled. They have emojis. They have themes. But that's just the funny side of it. The lists as a tool to me are amazing because it's a way to make all of your existential problems and crises and the most dramatic moments of your life into something limited. It's 10 lines long. It's 15 points. It's 3 groups of ideas. And you know, trying to make the complex and the abstract into something that you can talk about.
It's tangible.
It's tangible.
Yeah.
And it allows you to manage your emotions about that thing in a nicer way.
All right, thank you. That's a good share.
Yeah, I could say lists also. I do lists for everything, really everything. Voiceover, music, typography, all that. Some are mental, others are on lists. There was a Listgeek site that recently was killed. I had everything there.
We're geeking out about lists now.
Yeah, but other than that, probably Photoshop. Photoshop was the place where I designed from forever. From the last year, we moved to Figma, and I'm still struggling with it. But Photoshop was where I had everything from vector. Everything could be in there, but it became obsolete for doing what we do. So, but still, Photoshop.
All right, all right. This comment is not brought to us by Adobe or Figma. I'm kidding.
I guess Post-its.
Okay.
I use a lot of Post-its.
Again,
lists. A bit more messy, but yeah, lists. Of my office is full of Post-its because it's the way I organize ideas, and I can look at the wall and I see all my ideas. When I do interviews, I use Post-its. When I go to the meetings, I use Post-its. Well, even in my home, but I'm not going to talk about it. Yeah.
All right, I can relate. I store all my passwords in Post-its around my computer. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Okay, so tonight I wanted to, have these amazing people sharing with us a bit about entering and growing in the work market. And a lot of you will be in different stages of that. So I wanted to start by entering the market. And so just jump on the question. What was a big surprise for you when you first started working?
I guess I'm the first.
Yeah, you have a mic.
It was quite of surprise because I got out of school and I started with a small agency here in Porto, and I was doing graphic design. My background is communication design in Belas Artes, in the fine arts of here from University of Porto. And when I'm starting to work, a huge surprise that I had is that me as a designer, I didn't have the chance to talk with the clients. It's the one thing that you are talking about. We didn't talk with the people that will say yes or no to our work. And even the people that from the company, they didn't really know the clients, their customer, their persona that will use their service, their product, their book, their flyer. So they didn't really know them. So it's affecting me as designer because I couldn't reach them, so my work was not so, the impact of my work wasn't so meaningful and great and that I would like. So yeah, it was a big surprise for me because from my background in school, they teach men, you need to research a lot, you need to Google it, you need to go to the library and look all the books, you need to talk with people and show their work and see what the people will talking about that and their opinion. And yeah, and in the real world.
And you don't get to.
Yeah, and in the real world was nothing like that. Yeah.
Okay, okay. Any of you wants to share on this question?
The biggest surprise, and it's still running, so it's a continuous approach and learning, is to understand the array of things that you need to understand to sell design. On paper, on screen, it's the same thing. There are tricks that you need to understand how to do it well, how to print it well, how to choose the materials, how to do a copy, how to do video photography. So you need to understand everything from the client to. Of course, it's based on me, and that's not normal, right? You find people that do one stuff, you do the business, you do the design, you do the pre-press. I do the pre-press. So to me, it was good to see what it should be done and allow me to choose what some I had to do, like the clients, I had to do it, and I didn't want to find someone that didn't know how to sell what we do. That was key. At that moment, when I understood that it should be me, it was a low point on my life. But it's the array of things. So design never wins. I always say that. And I'm a designer.
Design never wins?
Design never wins.
Okay.
Yeah, never, ever. The fights are on business.
Yeah.
People to people, not. They don't care about typography. They don't care about color. When we have a client that only discusses color and photography, and design, color is color, right? If someone is just picking on color, they are lost, right? They are not seeing that color is not that relevant. So it depends.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
What's the question again?
You want to take the same question, or you want to take the next one? I have a bunch of questions. I think
I'll do both.
Yeah. Okay. So a big surprise for you when you first started working.
Yeah, because my answer to this is I don't remember. Honestly, I don't remember having a big surprise.
You're that old. I'm kidding.
It's not that. It's like I'm not gonna try to sound smart and make up a big surprise and tell you a story. And I think the reason why I don't have a big surprise was I sort of when I entered design, I wasn't trained to be a designer, and I think that I've just sort of tried to navigate my way through and try to learn, what I needed to do. And so rather than looking at things as surprises, I probably just thought, looking back, oh, okay, so this is how it works. I should have known that, Right. And so I've sort of looked at things not as, I didn't expect this, but I don't think I had many expectations back then.
Okay. So
when I started.
No expectations, no surprises. Yeah. All right, then you can take on the next one as you promised. So is there something you wish you would have done different with your career?
Oh yeah, definitely. I know that one I've given a lot of thought. Yes, I wish I had become a developer. Definitely. They make a lot more money than us. Most of the times they're told what to do, so the spec is very well defined. You just have to follow it. They
have lists.
They have loads of lists, and I'm not sure if I would have been happier, but I've actually thought about that a lot of times, mostly during times of struggle, when I think we were trying to prove the value, the worth of design, of the tiny little things, trying to sell it to clients or sell it to the CEOs and the partners and whoever. And I think when that frustration hits you, it's like, yeah, it's like I could have been on the other side. Things would have been easier. I don't know what I'm doing with my life. But then you get back to yourself and you think, no, I really like doing it. So.
All right, that's a good share. Okay.
I don't think so. Probably the best thing that I could do differently was to pick people with passion only.
Okay. Yeah, you mentioned that on your talk.
Because you need to understand what you do. You need to understand that you are on a very controlled space and that real life is not like that. You have to experience a lousy, shitty boss to understand that there are people that tell you what to do and that's not for you, right? And if you find passion, if you find it's easy to find passion. If you talk with people, you understand who has the passion for it. Because the extra mile might not be paid, because usually it isn't.
Yeah.
And that's a problem for people that are starting. People that are starting don't have the faintest idea of what it is to work on a company that doesn't care anything about you, just want to do your job, right? So yeah, find people only with passion. To understand, you don't need to spend 1 year telling you how to do it and how to fall in love with what you do.
Yeah, that's it's something good to aim for. Yeah.
I think maybe say to no to some things, saying no.
Say no.
Yeah, because sometimes I was doing shitty jobs and shitty projects that I really didn't like it, but I just need to do it. And maybe if I was saying no, maybe some more opportunities that will be more passionate to do it, more I would really like it to do it, and I really will put all my effort and my passion into the work. It will be, my portfolio will be much better than is today, maybe. And maybe not giving so much to the company that where I was working, because sometimes the leader that you have with you is not so well aligned with your mindset, or doesn't really understand the value of design mindset on the things you do. So I'm very passionate person. I put a lot of me in a lot of things I do professionally. So yeah, I started learning that, okay, I love what I do, but I really need to step down for a bit sometimes and remember that we are human. So it's not just work and just, well, yeah.
All right. So we're talking a lot about struggle, and when we struggle, we often, well, get support from people, hopefully. Who are you grateful for in your professional careers, and why?
Well, of course, my family
Okay.
are the first ones to that. Well, you have the support there. But for example, I have a really nice. Well, my aunt changed the course of my career by giving me a book that you are giving away today. Yeah. Because it really changed the way I was looking to my projects. It really changed the way I was looking to the products that I was buying, the services that I was using, the way the things were designed. Even, well, in the book is amazing. They talked about products that are from the 80s, the 70s, and they understand, or they talk about how the interface was designed and why the things were designing like they were, and the meaning behind it. So I start to understand that the vision of design is much more further than is really a nice project. The colors are great, the design seems amazing, much more is functional. The people are going to get some value from there. I'm not talking about tangible value, but the experience is in our product, yes or no. So we really need to look further than a nice thing to have it.
And who are you grateful for reaching that conclusion?
Well,
just yourself?
not just myself, of course, but
your family for
my
providing
family.
The experience.
Yeah, okay. I have a lot of designers in my family,
okay.
So
well,
the mindset is
lucky.
there.
All right.
Okay, this will be long.
Long?
Long. Yeah.
There's a long list.
Not many people, but some milestones that were very important. First, Katarina, my wife, she handled 20 years of this, of not being around, just doing work, and it took a lot of time to understand. Probably if it was me, I wouldn't understand, so Katarina is responsible for all this. Another person that was very important was the CEO of the group where we are in Coimbra. It helped me with the business arm that I didn't have. It created my company. The company is called Bürocratik because, to me, creating a company is bureaucracy. And I created a folder called Bürocratik. And oh, this sounds good. It sounds like pentagram, just bureaucratic. Yeah. So he helped me, and it still helped. And we are still on the same business. So Antonio Rix is the person that I, in terms of business, am more grateful to. He's also a friend, of course. Yeah, Bruno Marie, the digital director of Bürocratik. Without him, I would have no free hugs, the gift that you see there. So I owe him everything where we are right now. And last, I'm an engineer. I learned how to be an engineer, and everything needs to be answered with a reason. Why does this happen? And in design, people just turn knobs. Photoshop is just knobs. You don't understand what you're doing. You're at the levels and you don't understand what you're doing. So I had a self-learning process that I could get up to a point, and then I was like, okay, nobody can explain me why is this happening in terms of color correction, pre-press. That knowledge is on the printers. It's on people that make the pre-press, that know what files. And so I was almost giving up, and I found a book from a guy called Dan Margulis. It's the #1 expert on color theory, and it was written for engineers. So to me, that changed everything, and it was the last step that I needed in terms of understanding how to make photos really sharp and good. And it's also a very good friend. I read this book and sent an email. It was the only email that I sent to any book that I read. So it was like, okay, I need to send an email to this guy. And I say, thanks, your book is completely amazing, it changed my life. That stuff that you say to them. Warn me when you come to Europe to give a workshop. Right? And he replied, I will be in London in 15 days. You say, I'm off to London. And after London, I went to San Diego and then to Toronto. And we are very close friends. And I became, as an engineer, a better reader of the books that now he writes. He's at the end of his career. He's writing a new book. And yeah, those 3 persons.
Oh, that's really nice.
If I had to pick, I would say that there were probably 3 or 4 teachers that sort of steered my career. My parents have always been very supportive, like Sofia said. I did have a number of business partners and others, like Adriano also pointed, that also made a big dent. But then there were 3 or 4 teachers. One of them was my first 4th grade teacher, my primary school teacher. Taught me the value of self-worth. I think that was a very important lesson for a very skinny, short boy back in the day. I also had a teacher of, I don't know how to say it in English, it was arts and crafts back in the 5th grade, so not too long after, who taught me the value of perfection. And I still today remember how he pushed like very, very young boys and girls to, try to achieve that perfection in stuff that we were like, it's done, isn't it? It's like, isn't this what you ask? And he was pushing and pushing. That was very intense for somebody that young. And then later I had another teacher who was also, it was a martial arts teacher, which is not the kind of teacher you would expect by the laughs. I still practice today after 14, 15 years. Taught me the value of discipline, of self-restraining yourself, of sort of thinking about a code that goes beyond you. That was very powerful. Obviously, I'm distilling this with all of this romance. It wasn't like that at the time. I was getting my ass kicked. And last but not least, I had a teacher at university that was also very interesting. He talked a lot about passion, and he didn't taught me the value of passion. I believe I was always a very passionate person, but the way he talked about passion to some of the students that didn't have it maybe made me even, you know, wanting it even more. He was like, you have to. Can I curse?
I don't mind.
You don't mind? Fuck yeah. You would literally, it's like you would create all of this speech like at 9 a.m. in the morning for like 30 minutes. And he was like, you have to fuck the paper. You have to pierce through it. If you're not piercing through it, if your hands are not bleeding, you're not doing it right. And some were like, yeah, yeah. Other people were like, did he just say fuck? And I was like... So yeah,
Inspiring.
Very, very inspiring. Yeah, it was very inspiring.
Right, that's good. That's good. So, well, a lot of that is about, well, inspiring people, giving them well, lessons for life, and on lessons for life, a lot of people here, I'm sure, will be having difficulties in their jobs and careers. In your view, what's a common mistake you believe designers make when entering the job market?
So, I always said this, I'm not a designer, I'm an engineer, so
yeah.
I don't know shit about design. I say this since moment one, and it's true. After all these years, I never sell design as something subjective. I sell design as engineer, as you have this problem, you have these conditions, you have to make some choices, and you have this. That's an engineer, and that's not much as a designer. So I think design and art it's an old school. It's not, currently it's not a problem, but designers need to understand that everything is a process. Everything, even if you sell something, it's a process. If you build something, it's a process.
That's actually a very good answer. Yeah.
So I think that's key. A designer doesn't make a logo and say, look how beautiful it is in the sunrise. It symbolizes your exports. That's shit. Yeah. And actually, when I built my first company that we failed miserably. 5 chemical engineers doing web, lousy. So a company bought us. We were drained out of money, and I stayed there 4 years. And I learned what to do and what not to do. So to me, that's very, very, very important. And when I started doing websites for them, my hobby was branding. I did all that on the years that I was on the company. And when I said, I'm sick of this, I need something new, so people must listen what I want, what I need, what I say that is a solution for something, I realized that I was good doing this. I was good doing a logo and sell it. So my rationale on the how to sell a logo was something, whoa, this makes sense. So yeah, but was always not on the poetry side, on functional side. The clients need to understand the problem and need to visualize. Like I showed the F. The F are their products. It's an F, and sadly, there's a new logo that is very similar to that. But an F is an F. So yeah, you need to sell your stuff. You need to not over drama or poetry on the piece. It's a process.
All right. Let's share.
Well, I think all the time I was sitting with a client and with a new branding or a new, well, nowadays I don't do that, but with a new proposal for a service is what I do nowadays. Well, he has his perspective, and sometimes he forgets that you have a lot of stakeholders around even if it's a service or it's a product, tangible or intangible, you have a lot of stakeholders that are connected with that thing. So when sometimes the things go, well, a bit to the client size, and you don't understand, and you feel like a pressure to say yes because the client is saying no, I want red, no, I don't want this step or whatever. Let's test it. Let's test with the users. Let's put a nice web to see how the people will react. Let's test on the context how the people will interact with the product, with the service. Let's just make a quick prototype and test it if it works. And sometimes that approach can be new to the client and can be a bit, I don't know, I never did something like that because I also, until now, I only, all the time launch a new website or a new product. So I didn't do that type of testing. So sometimes this approach can be much easier to well, the client see all the perspectives and see what is wrong or what can be fixed.
Okay,
yeah.
okay. I also want to weigh in on this one. I think it sort of combines both of your perspectives. I see a lot of times designers being too eager to jump to conclusions and mixing too much of their self with what's being done, and it's not. You're not designing for yourself, you're designing for someone else, for someone else's problem. And they tend to how do you say, prescribe before diagnosing. And they don't ask enough questions, they don't provide enough context to the client. It's just, okay, I know my shit, so I'm going to do it the way I think it should be done, and and being well, mindful that you need to extract as much information as you can from the client from the get-go and throughout is very useful. So I think that would be my advice on this question. Yeah. You want to answer this one as well?
No, I think what all of you just said is fine, and I think more and more with the advent of what is becoming a digital design sort of or digital product design discipline, so to say, I think that makes even more sense. And I used to do this analogy when I was working in web design, that designing a website is much more like designing a physical product than it is designing a graphical print outcome. And a few years later now, I think it makes even more sense. And if you're working in digital design, I think that's probably the best advice that you can hear right now is just, you're not an artist, forget about that. If you want to be an artist, be an artist. But while you're a designer, you will very rarely be designing something that will fulfill your ego and it will be a representation of yourself or something like that. You know, that's not happen. If it's an F, it's an F, and could be prettier, nicer. More people might like it than others, but it's what you guys said.
All right.
Exactly.
Yeah, gets the job done. Okay. So talking about now the future, most of us will be passionate and looking to grow and experiment with a lot of things. How do you balance between what you want to be doing, and I think it really relates to what you were saying, how do you balance between what you want to be doing and what you need to be doing, or do you don't balance at all? What's your take on that?
My suggestion, and obviously I didn't run a survey to understand what most people do, that's my opinion. You create pet projects. I've realized that what I was doing was important. At the time I was running my own agency, selling design as a service, and at the same time I was teaching. And what I understood was that I had very, very little power on how I was doing my teaching, because the school and obviously the state dictates most of the rules, and I experimented a lot. I did my best in trying to become sort of an ambassador for better design with my clients, and I was talking to Adriano here confessing that where I think I failed was that I was too much of a nice guy, and you have to be the businessman. And now, and after that, what I found was that what I needed to do was to pursue both by creating my own school. Obviously, it was a very big project. It didn't just came out and decided to do that. But I still think that I'm not the best designer in the world, and that's not why I'm sort of preaching or teaching or advocating for better education. The reason why I'm doing it, it's because I've sort of become good at allowing people to see if design is good for them, if they could have a good career in design. And I'm not just making this judgment. I have a lot of former students that have become very successful, some of which, to be honest, I wouldn't bet on them a dime while they were a student. Adriano currently, or has in the past, in that picture, had 3 former students of mine working with him. And so if you think of how many awards they win and the quality of work they do, that's one example of what you can do if you motivate people. It's like, I didn't teach them all, that's not what I'm saying, but that was my mission. And so coming back to your question, pet projects. Try to separate your things. I remember I had designers that were very, very good at a very particular style of design that fitted cultural events and museums and associations. What the clients we had weren't that type of clients. Yeah. So they found, their NGOs or their local groups or whatever, and that's how they were happy. They were very, very happy to do it, most of the times for free.
All right, that's good.
Yeah, pet projects. The example of the label that I did for my father is exactly the same thing that I'm doing for these big companies. The difference is that I'm doing this for companies that are worth millions, and I have the responsibility to do the right thing in terms of business. But the principle is the same. It's an educational guess of what solves the problem. And with time, you do that, the decisions quicker, faster, and you connect the dots and you understand what's the direction. So yeah, you have to train a lot. You have to do it, even if it's something that is not paid. You need to do it. It's not for the client. It's for you. It's for the next project. And Prevint is clearly a project to me. I don't know if my team knows this, but it's a technology test for the next one.
Okay, that's good.
Okay.
I want to ask you the next question. We're running short on time. So what's one development or trend in design that you feel might transform the field that most are ignoring, or could be an opportunity for personal transformation and growth?
Well, I have to say human-centered design. I think this concept, this mindset of user-centered, it still needs to grow a lot in the design community. What I'm seeing right now, and as a co-founder of the Service Design Portugal community, is that designers from the product design, graphic design, and branding background still don't understand how they can apply human-centered design in their work. So that, I think, is a switching point that we need to really take, or a step that really needs to take to our projects. You can do that in as a side project. You can apply that and test this mindset, this type of different things that you might do applying the human-centered design in small projects. Interactive users, not your friends, please. They are a bias. Or mothers. Yeah.
Your mother is not a user.
But go to the street, talk with people, go with your newest design and test with them. That I think we should start doing. And me as a graphic designer as background, what I'm seeing right now, as well, my closest friends that are graphic designers or branding or etc., they are trying to go to this mindset, but we still have a long way to go, I believe.
Okay, okay, thank you. One of you wants to jump in on this one as well?
I'll add just a minor thing, which is it won't necessarily answer your question. I don't think it's a trend, but we have been seeing the topic of research being approached a lot in conferences, talks, and podcasts, and I think it's precisely because of this, you know. And precisely because of what we were saying before as well. So you start to realize that you are not your user. There's somebody else that is your user. If you don't design it for your user, it's going to generate frustration. It's going to fail. So you might as well just do the bloody research and get out there. And there's always the question when we raise this at events of, my boss won't allow me to do it, he won't pay for it, he won't give me the time or the tools or whatever. And then most of the times I've seen lots of very important and great minds saying, just fucking do it anyway. just you know, just do it. Just, you know, take the time. Don't tell anyone. Just talk to people. Just, you know, run a survey. Don't break any laws, but, you know, just go out there.
When you have a voice of the user in the meeting and you have a quote there that really translates the problem and the insight that you are trying to achieve, well, it shut up everyone, really. And yeah, win the battle. So it's why it's so important.
One extra point on research. The best projects that we do are the ones that we do the briefing. So up to a point, it is I who do the briefing, always. You need to understand what's the client's problem, and you need to do it. And if you train that, you explain them. Yesterday, we were in a meeting on a new client, and the CEO was on meeting, so I had to wait for him, so I talk with the other guys. And they tell me exactly what they think the website should be. I went upstairs and talked with the CEO, and it was completely different. So people have sides and they want to see stuff being done. It's up to us to, okay, I understand, we will do this, this, and this, and not do what the client does. We never do what the client does, ever.
Okay, okay. Right. So we're running short. Does anyone have one, and just to finalize before the audience questions, does anyone have a funny or awkward episode that they would like to share? He's laughing too much. I think he has one.
This is going to be a meta moment of funny. I once did a talk about all the weird stuff that happened and all the funny stuff that happened up until that point in my career. And it didn't went very well because it was at a university, public university, and they expected a certain type of formal standard, which I didn't give a shit about, and I did it anyway. And I talked about clients that told us exactly what they wanted, to the point where they did a mock-up of the website on the tools that they had at their disposition, and in which case it was in Excel. So yes. I had a client that sketched the entire website on Excel by making certain cells larger and others thinner and coloring up stuff, and it was amazing. And yeah, I had a bunch of them, so I'll just leave it at that.
All right, that's good. That's good. I think she has one story as well.
It's a kind of awkward because when I was doing my master in Barcelona a few years ago, the main topic of my master thesis was female masturbation. So it was
what?
Female masturbation.
Okay.
Yeah,
sorry.
It was a very sensitive topic, as you might understand, and was very hard to get women, men, people to get involved in the project. So the first ones that I on the interview was my mom and my grandmother because I didn't have anyone. And it was very, very interesting because the perspectives on the theme was so different. And the theme was so much more than I was thinking, because it was not only the female masturbation in terms of physical, but also the gap that exists between a relations between a woman and a man, or a man with a man, whatever, woman with a woman, but also between families and between friends. It is a taboo topic. So it really opened up a huge conversations between us and as family, and really connect us in some way. So yeah, it was a bit awkward, but it was funny.
And you never looked at your mother the same way.
Yeah. No, that is not true, but yeah.
Yeah, I think he has one as well.
Yeah, the funniest moments are the worst to me.
All right.
The worst clients, the worst situations. To me, that's what. I'm not a very fun people. I'm very focused, extremely focused. So, to me, fun was never. I never celebrate stuff.
Okay.
Okay. So, up to having kids was okay. I had to celebrate. Okay. So that type of person. So to me, the clients.
You raise your arm
yeah.
up to
The
this
lowest
level.
keys are the funniest because you can't get lower than that.
Okay.
You think. So. I can tell two stories. We always wanted to work with architects because, to me, in my mind, they say architects are the best clients ever. They know what we do. They rationalize the same way. No, it was the worst client ever. He ended up in Amazon with an iPad and saying that the site didn't load. That kind of stuff. It was absolutely terrible. And we say, this is the worst ever. It wasn't. So the second one was someone that was so specialist on UX that said that you do good stuff, pretty stuff, but I'm better than you at UX. Yeah, and he removed the only section of the website that needed to be there. Right? So to me, that's fun. It's when you overcome the okay,
It was
that's
a
fun.
scavenger hunt. That's why.
So yeah.
All right, thank you for sharing. Now I want to move to the audience who has a question. Well, for our invitees. Anyone? No questions this time. I'm surprised. Just pizza. Yeah, everyone's focusing on the pizza, I think. So I'll just ask, the three last questions, and this will be hard. Adriano, what makes you cranky?
Cranky.
Cranky in graphic
I've just
and
said
web
it.
design.
I'm cranky because I need to solve problems and I need to anticipate everything. And I do anticipate everything. I'm a bit obsessive.
Just a bit obsessed.
I learned to live with it.
Just a bit.
For example, when I was young, I cataloged all my music collection alphabetically.
Okay.
That's nonsense,
Yeah.
right? It made sense back then. But now I am deeply obsessed with solving problems, solving the stuff and making good stuff. So I'm cranky because I have 10 problems in my head per day, and I need to solve them. If it's the team, if it's the client, if it's... So yeah, I'm cranky, but I'm a nice guy.
According to a list of 7 people now. Yeah.
Same question?
Oh, sorry. Yeah. So if you had Thanos gauntlets and could change anything with a snap of your fingers, what is the one thing you would change in education?
In education, there's so many things to change. I think right now what we need to do is just kind of like Thanos did, just like wipe out half of the population.
Students or teachers?
The academics,
Okay.
yeah, the teachers. And if it was possible to eliminate the academic side of education, especially in design, I think I would give it a try. I don't know. What do I know? But I would give it a try because I think it's a very self-centered topic, academia. You know, they sort of live in their own world. They go to meetings, go to conferences, and do talks, and write books and papers at night, and you know, and they think that's just it, and so they then go on and do classes that day and share knowledge. And education is much more than that, and I think that's what's wrong with most of our system, is the fact that it's very, very old. It's actually dated back to the Industrial Revolution, and it made perfect sense at the time. It doesn't anymore. So remove a little bit of the structure. I don't know, but if I had the glove, I would figure it out.
Just for the sake of it. All right. And Sofia, design seems to be getting bigger. How big do you think it will get?
I hope a lot. I hope it reaches the leaders that we have in all organizations and in the country, because I feel that if we don't have a leader that really understands the value of creating new things or redesigning things to get much closer to the experience that people want to feel, to do, I don't think we are going there. And I see a lot of examples in other countries, more specific in public sector, because it's what I'm working right now, that if you don't have that leader, if you don't have the guy that's in their last year of going to retirement,
okay.
And he didn't take that risk of doing things differently, you don't see nice services, nice products coming up, nice things that if you are in this time of the career, you don't have the courage to take that kind of risk. So yeah.
Okay. Okay. Well, thank you. I want to thank our amazing panel. So big round of applause for them.